20 months ago, I stopped coloring my hair and let my hair go gray. I'm going to tell you how I did it, why I did it, the products that worked, the process that nearly destroyed everything, how much I paid, and most importantly, what I learned after doing a ton of research and personal experience. And if you work in corporate America, I'm going to share with you my experience doing all of this while working in a senior visible role on Wall Street. If you know, you know. If you're debating whether to let your hair go gray, this video will answer most of your questions. Why I did it. 1, my scalp became constantly irritated and itchy from the chemicals and the harsh dyes. 2, I'm very white around my face, and the white became very resistant to hair dye. Even right after my appointment, I would see that a few hairs didn't take. 3, within 1 week, I could already see the white hair coming in. And I started to have to use, after about a week, hair powders to cover up the new growth. And that was icky and sticky. 4, so 3 weeks later, I was back in the salon getting my hair colored again. And again, and again. 5, my hair was shedding a lot as my scalp was so irritated from the constant dye. 6, time. I was a busy executive with a senior position at work, 3 kids, a commute, dealing with family life, barely keeping up with everything, and dealing with the maintenance for a woman. The maintenance for women aging, the maintenance for women aging on Wall Street. Oh, it was a lot. 7, I began to question things. Am I brainwashed to think that my natural hair color is going to make me look old and ugly and unkept? Is it true I can't be sexy, beautiful, energetic, and vibrant with my natural gray hair? It's modern times, artificial intelligence and computing and all of these innovations. Everything is changing. Why not hair standard? 8, then there's the finances, which are particularly important for women who generally live longer than men, and we're already earning 84 cents to every man's dollar. We also face stigma for aging at work, making it harder to earn a living. We don't go as senior as the men do generally. Far few female CEOs than males. Then we pay 13% more for personal care products, even when the male version has the same exact ingredients. I was spending about $100 every 3 weeks on my hair dye. Guys, invested, this can be $250,000 in retirement. And then the time came. I was at work and I was planning on a work trip I had to do the following day. I had to have my hair colored before I got on that plane, but I had a day full of meetings and I was in a meeting, frantic, and instead of paying attention, I was thinking how I'm getting to the salon and pack and get on a flight first thing in the morning. Then I looked around and I realized all the guys were gray or bald. Not a care in the world about having to make it to the salon before we got on that flight. At that moment, I knew, I'm done. Something burned inside of me. It became like my personal rebellion. It was like my statement to society. And once I decided that was it, nothing was going to stop me. But hear me out. It was not easy. It was not easy. So, how I did it. 1, this time I didn't tell anybody what I was planning. This is an important point. If you poll the people around you, you may not get the support you need. And this beginning period is already so difficult. You may want to keep this to yourself for a little while until you've mentally gotten strong and prepared for this honestly difficult journey. So nobody in my life knew what was going on. Well, except the entire internet. You see, at the time, I couldn't tell anybody, but I needed to get it off my chest. So when I would come down to this office to work, I would turn on my iPhone and talk to all of you guys. And I didn't have a camera. I didn't know how to edit. I was never posting on YouTube before, but I posted these videos. Tomorrow, I'm going for my gray hair transition, and I will never have this dyed hair again. I've decided I don't care. I don't care what's expected. Oh, my husband hasn't yet noticed that I haven't dyed my hair, and I haven't told him. What will his reaction be? I have no idea. It was my secret little outlet. Nobody knew I was on YouTube too. Next, in preparation for this long and potentially unattractive transition, I knew I needed to get everything else, looks and beauty-wise, in order. I started my Invisalign. I had very crooked teeth at the bottom. I whiten my teeth at home now. I'm gonna do a professional whitening in a few months when my Invisalign is done. I did a professional color analysis, so I knew the colors that I should be wearing once I went gray. I ramped up my skincare. I made sure I was working out, getting strong and fit, get everything else beauty-wise in order, because you may feel very icky some days. So having everything else taken care of helped me stay confident and strong for those bad grow out days. 3, I explored all the different methods of growing out my hair. I knew I couldn't just let it grow out naturally. Getting a pixie cut wasn't an option. So after a ton of research, I decided I was gonna do gray blending. So what is gray blending? You grow out your natural hair, ideally 3 months. I could only do 2 months because that grow out was nasty. I was coloring my hair at the time a very light brown, a dark blonde. My natural color was growing in white and black, salt and pepper. Very white around the face, dark everywhere else. But the color previously was light brown. So in gray blending, what they do is they take the formerly dyed part and strand by strand or section by section, they match it to the way your natural pattern is growing out from the roots. In my case, bleached white or put in a lot of dark. For example, in the front where there was white, they try to lift my former hair color to make it white. I guess that was with a bleach. And in the other parts where I was dark, they took out the former light brown and made it darker. So section by section, strand by strand. This was such a tedious process, 8-10 hours. At one point I had 2 people working on my hair, 4 hands, because this process is so complicated. It's not like you just put dye on it. You have to be very careful. My stylist said there was a very good chance that I would not be able to get gray blending. She had to see what would happen once she went in there. For example, when they start to bleach and remove and strip the hair, it's very possible that 1, the hair doesn't lift, or 2, it's so damaged that it starts to break off. If either of those things happened, she couldn't guarantee what would happen. Now, in preparation for months before this gray blending, I was really taking care of my hair really well. I did hydrating masks every week, and I did a fresh trim, and I did everything I could to get my hair strong and healthy. I did a lot of scalp treatments. I came into this hair blending with really good, strong hair. So when I got into that chair for my gray blending procedure, it worked like a charm. The next thing, and guys, this is the most important thing if you're gonna go down this journey of gray blending. You have to find a specialist who does gray blending. All stylists who color hair will say they can do it. They cannot. Please trust me. This requires someone who has a lot of experience, because when you go in there and you start doing it, you really have to play it by ear and see how the hair lifts. Is it breaking off? Is it damaging? I found somebody who's been doing just gray blending for over a decade. So I'm in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area, right? I'm in Manhattan for work every day. I thought finding a gray blending specialist would be easy. It's Manhattan. No, guys, in this entire area, I was only able to find 2. I interviewed them. I got a sense for their process.
I just left from my consultation to start my gray hair transition.
Each one was going to be very, very different. One wanted me to keep coming back every month for a period of time to do it slowly, and the other one was more willing to, if it would work for my hair, do a drastic gray transformation all at once. I decided to pick the one that was willing to do it all at once so that I can just fully transition in one time. This woman was in Manhattan. It was expensive because it was the middle of Manhattan. So it was anywhere between $1,000 and $1,200. So I grew out my hair for 2 months. I came in, I did a gray blending. She said it most likely will not last, it will fade, and it will get brassy. And of course, it did fade. So I did come back for a second gray blending. Now, she also told me after my first gray blending, keep the hair hydrated, continue to use my hair masks. She also said, this gray blending specialist who has been doing nothing but gray blending for over a decade said something contrary to what everyone on the internet says about gray hair. She said, do not use a purple shampoo because it's drying. And the most important thing for gray hair, especially gray hair going through this difficult gray blending process, is not to dry out your hair. She did say I could use a purple hair mask, which you leave on for 5 minutes. She recommended the Finola purple hair mask, and I use it every week or two. I put it on my hair for 5 minutes after I wash my hair, and to the extent that white hair gets muddy or yellow a little bit, which it does have a tendency to do, that purple hair mask makes the whites glisten and everything very clarified. So as my hair faded, 3 months after my first gray blending, I went for a touch-up. This second gray blending was only about 2-3 hours, cost about $300. I know it's a lot of money, but again, it's in the middle of Manhattan. So after we did my second gray blending, it was 3 months after my first and about 5-6 months since my last official hair dye. She said, honestly, I think you're done. I don't think you're gonna need to come back. I think that it will fade a little bit, but you have enough now to keep you going until you're fully grown out. My hair looked good again. And then I did something to mess it all up. I just ruined everything I did. It was summer in the Northeast, and the frizz was out of control because at that time I still didn't know how to properly take care of my gray hair. I've been doing a keratin treatment for years. So I went to the woman who always does my keratin treatment. She's wonderful, but she's not a gray hair specialist. So we did my keratin treatment and my hair turned green. No, my hair literally turned yellow and green. So about 8 months since my last dye, I went back for my third gray blending. My gray blending specialist was able to fix it. This was a 3-hour procedure. It was about $300. My hair was fixed, sort of. It wasn't as good as it was before. I had a little bit of yellow, but she got it to a decent place. So that was a year ago. It's been 1 year since I did any form of gray blending. It's been 21 months since my last official hair dye, and here I am today, a totally different person in every way, not because of the gray hair, although that was definitely the catalyst. So here's the reaction of the people around me. No one liked it. I came home with a gray hair transformation. My husband saw it. He didn't dare tell me he didn't like it, but he was shocked. And you could tell he was very worried. He was trying to be supportive. He was used to having a wife that was highly maintained and always had colored hair. So it was obvious he didn't love it. My mom, my sister, and my closest friends were like, no, don't do it. Color your hair. You're going to look old. Your husband's going to leave. It all started all over again. And for the first year and a half, every time I would go out, I would see people who hadn't seen me with my new gray hair. And it was a difficult time. Every time I would see them, I'd kind of be like, I would just address it and say, I colored my hair, I love it, this is just the process I'm going through. Or if I was meeting somebody for the first time, I would text them and say, just so you know, when you see me, I'm gonna have gray hair. Family dinners, everyone kept having an intervention, color your hair, color your hair. Oh, side note, guys, when I tell this story, it always sounds like I have terrible family and terrible friends. I don't. You just have to understand, culturally, in my circle, it was just not expected, accepted, no one does it. I really do have amazing family, but it was just something they weren't used to, and it came out of nowhere for them. So that's why I got that reaction. And the reason I wanted to share this with you is, for a long time, this YouTube channel was a secret. And when I would tell you early on, I would post these videos like, oh, my family, they hate it. You guys would all stick up for me because you're so kind. And you would say, your friends are terrible. How terrible of your family and your 3 sons, which none of them supported it either. And after my son found out about my YouTube channel, my then 11-year-old son looked at my videos and he saw the comments you guys would make about how unsupportive my family was and how terrible it was. He read those comments and he's like, Mom, from? Oh my God, the internet is hating on us. Stop talking about us. Why does the internet hate us? Okay, the reaction at work. I handled work very differently. It was difficult. I definitely got stares and awkward looks. I was very worried that it was going to hinder my career. At work, because of political correctness, no one dared to say anything, but I got the stares, I got the awkward looks in meetings, and I treated the situation very differently at work than in my personal situation. I'm at work for my brain. I refuse to talk about hair at work. I'm not there for beauty. I'm not a model. So at work, I just stayed confident, stayed strong, and did my thing. I'm not gonna lie, it was difficult. I'm gonna tell you this one story that's gonna probably sound worse than it is, but at the time I had a boss who I worked with for a very long time, and he would always comment, oh, I like your red jacket, or a pair of shoes, or oh, I like your red nail polish, or when you color your hair, it doesn't always come out the same way because like new hair patterns are evolving. So if my hair would be lighter, he'd be like, oh, you lightened your hair, it looks great. Or sometimes I would color it at home and it would be darker, and he'd be like, oh, your hair is darker, looks great. Always commenting about looks, not just mine, everyone's. I know it sounds terrible, but it's just the way he was. He always noticed anything that was fashionable. And when I came in with gray hair, he said nothing. He said nothing. That in itself says everything. When someone you work side by side for years comments on every single thing you wear, buy, new, a pretty bag, a pretty jacket, and you come in with gray hair and he says nothing, that speaks volumes. Do you know that 48% of female Fortune 500 CEOs are blonde? Think about that. The world's population, only 2% have blonde hair, but nearly half of the most powerful women leaders are blonde. We're literally rewarded for looking pretty. So here is what I learned. 1, gray hair is not low maintenance. It's just a different type of maintenance. 2, the transition part is super hard, very hard. 3, the bad days. We all have them, even when we're coloring our hair. But with gray hair, the bad days are even worse. You know, those days when I feel frumpy, I didn't blow out my hair, it's frizzy, and I walk by the mirror and my hair's pulled back and so it's all white. But you look at yourself and I really have some bad days. 4, I had to learn how to manage my hair, but it took so much trial and error, different products, different styling methods. Finally, I found what worked. 5, dealing with frizz without the hair dye is much harder. The hair dye definitely does manage the frizz. I'll talk about that later because I found something that is a lifesaver for the frizz. I just found it literally now after almost 2 years. 6, the gray hair is very wiry. As hair grows out, even if I'm blowing it out and I try to hairspray it, the little gray hairs are so wiry, they just stand up everywhere. 7, and this is the biggest thing that I learned, the biggest misconception. I always loved my natural, dark, almost black hair. But for about a decade, I've been going lighter and lighter and lighter, thinking that eventually the gray hair, when my hair is light, will show less than on black, dark hair. It's just the opposite because my natural color was growing in dark. So no matter how light I was, that wasn't gonna help me transition. And in fact, I did almost go blonde a couple of times. And truth is, when the gray would grow out, it would look just as terrible. Maybe if you're naturally light, going light will make the grow out process easier. But for me, somebody who was naturally dark in a lot of places, going lighter, lighter, lighter didn't help. What it did was just create more chaos because now I have white and black and brown and blonde and orange, and the contrast was just too many things going on. 8, heat does sometimes make white hair a little bit yellow and muddy. The Fanola purple hair mask for me really keeps any of yellow and muddiness bright. 9, hydration, hydration, hydration. You don't want to hear this, but hair my length probably is going to take a full 3 years to grow out. I'm 20, 21 months in, and you could probably see in certain lighting, I don't know if you could see, there is still brown. I probably have another 7, 6, 8 months to go. In the beginning, I thought I'd be done with the grow out after a year. I realized it's closer to 2.5 to 3 years. For my length of hair, major aside, and I have no proof of this. When I stopped dyeing my hair, I stopped getting headaches. For decades, I had headaches 2-3 times a week. I constantly lived with them. All of a sudden, I realized, oh my God, I almost never have headaches anymore. I still do after I drink wine or something, rarely, maybe once every month or every 2 months. And I realized around the time I stopped dyeing my hair, my headaches went away. That's the only constant thing that I can think of that changed. So once I stopped dyeing my hair, my headaches pretty much went away. Sometimes when I'm done up and I have my makeup and hair done, I feel great. I feel like I can rock it and be sexy and pretty and gray and be me and be happy. Then there are a lot of bad days when I feel frumpy, my hair is frizzy and undone, no makeup. But then comes the magic. Guys, literally the magic, no exaggeration. Because here's what I didn't realize in the beginning of this crazy journey. This isn't just about hair and an itchy scalp. This is about 3 huge things that changed me forever. I believe the entire purpose of being on this planet and being human is personal growth, evolution, and learn. How we get over our fears, how much deeper we can feel and learn and know about ourselves and society and humanity. So for me, for the first time ever, I stopped needing someone else's approval. I was strong enough to listen to myself. I did something because I wanted to. I stood for what I wanted all alone. Second, I started to think for myself. I know, crazy. I started to question what society told me was beautiful, what it meant to age, that age is ugly and slow and unattractive. I decided to define beauty for myself. Third, I had to find beauty and sexiness in myself just from me, not from external things like hair and clothes, but from my attitude, my interests, my conversations, my realness, my truth. I always relied on external factors to give me confidence. Now I had to learn to find my confidence just because. Even my intimacy with my husband is so much better now because I truly feel sexy, and that changes everything. Each one of us is doing something really special. We're paving the way to normalize that gray hair is just a color like blonde or brunette. We're literally changing what's acceptable. I am no gray hair advocate. Honestly, if I had a choice to have my 25-year-old dark hair, I'd do it in a second. But that's not where I am now. This is what nature gave me now. I'm making it okay to be me in this version. And that is what the gray hair journey was for me. If you want to know what products I use to make my gray hair shine and look good, watch this video next. This video became way too long. I can't put it all in here.